My son-in-law looked me in the eye over breakfast and said, "We've been talking, and we think it's time you signed the house over to us. You're not going to need it much longer anyway." He said it the way you'd ask someone to pass the salt. My daughter sat next to him, stirring her coffee, not looking up. She didn't disagree. She didn't even flinch. She just kept stirring, around and around, like the spoon was the most important thing in the room. I'm 74 years old. I have lived in that house for 41 years. My husband and I bought it the summer our daughter turned 6, and I planted the dogwood tree in the front yard with my own 2 hands. The kitchen tile, the one with the little chip near the stove. I dropped a cast iron skillet on it the night I found out I was pregnant with our second child. We lost that baby a month later, but I never replaced the tile. Some things you keep because forgetting feels worse than the chip. So when my son-in-law said what he said, I did not cry. I did not raise my voice. I poured myself another cup of coffee and watched the steam curl up toward the window. The light was coming in slanted that morning. Early November in Pennsylvania has a particular kind of light, thin and silver, like the sun is trying to apologize for leaving so soon. "We'll need to think about that," I said. My daughter finally looked up. "Mom, we already talked about it. The kids need stability. The school district here is better, and honestly, you're rattling around in this place by yourself." The kids. My grandchildren. They had been living with me for the past 9 months because their father had lost his job, then lost the apartment, then lost his patience with the whole arrangement. I had taken them in without a single question. I made their lunches, drove them to school, sat through 2 parent-teacher conferences, and learned how to braid hair from a YouTube video because my granddaughter wanted French braids and I had only ever known the regular kind. 9 months, I had been their mother again. And now my daughter was sitting at my kitchen table, telling me I was rattling around. "I'll think about it," I said. She made that little sound she makes when she's annoyed, but doesn't want to say so. A puff of air through her nose. Her father used to make the same sound. I never told her that. After they left, I sat in the quiet for a long time. The dishwasher hummed. The radiator ticked. Somewhere down the street, a leaf blower started up. I thought about the tile. I thought about the dogwood tree. I thought about the deed sitting in the safety deposit box at the bank where I had put it after my husband died, because I couldn't bear to look at his signature next to mine for a while. Then I went to my bedroom, closed the door, and pulled a shoebox out from the back of my closet. It had been there for almost 3 years. Inside the shoebox was a manila envelope. Inside the envelope were the documents I had quietly prepared after my husband's funeral, when our family lawyer had taken me aside and said, "Listen to me. I knew your husband for 30 years. He told me to make sure you were taken care of. Not just financially. Taken care of." I didn't tell my daughter about that conversation. I didn't tell her about a lot of things. That night I sat at the little desk by my bedroom window and opened a notebook I had been keeping for 3 years. The cover was leather, dark green, a gift from my husband on our last anniversary. He gave me notebooks because I was always writing things down. Grocery lists, recipes, things I wanted to remember. But this notebook was different. The first page said simply, "What I have given." And then a list, dated and detailed, going back to the week my son-in-law had moved his family into my house under the polite fiction of helping out for a few months. January, the new transmission for his truck. $2,800. He told me he'd pay it back when his bonus came through. There was no bonus. February, the orthodontist for my granddaughter. $3,400. My daughter said insurance would reimburse. It didn't. March, the property tax bill. I paid it. Both halves. They didn't ask. They didn't offer. April, the funeral for my son-in-law's mother. I gave them $4,000 for the service. I sat in the back row at the chapel and was not introduced to a single member of his family. It went on for pages. The math, when I added it up at the bottom of the last page, came to just over $46,000 in 3 years. Plus the groceries. plus the utilities I never asked them to split, plus the time I drove their oldest to her ballet lessons twice a week for 18 months because they were too swamped, plus the time I watched their youngest with 103 fever for 2 days while my daughter went to a wellness retreat in Sedona. I closed the notebook. I sat with my hands flat on the desk and felt my own breathing. Here is what they did not know. My husband had been a quiet man, a bookkeeper for a small manufacturing company, the kind of job nobody envies and nobody appreciates. He wore the same brown belt for 20 years. He drove cars until they died. He never bought himself a new pair of shoes if the old ones could be repaired. But he had been investing steadily since 1978. Small amounts. Index funds. A few stocks he believed in for reasons he could explain in plain English. He never bragged about it. He never even told me the full picture until he got the diagnosis. 3 weeks before he died, he sat me down at this same kitchen table and walked me through every account. He had set them up so that I would have access to everything, but no one else would even know they existed. The statements went to a P.O. box in town that I checked once a month. There was no paper at the house. He had thought of everything. "Don't tell her," he said. He meant our daughter. He didn't say it bitterly. He said it the way a doctor explains a difficult diagnosis. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. You decide when. You'll know." I had not known until that morning, sitting at the breakfast table watching my son-in-law spread my homemade strawberry jam on toast he had not bought in a kitchen he wanted to take from me. That was when I knew. The total in the accounts, as of the last statement, was $391,000. I did not feel triumphant. I felt tired. And underneath the tired, I felt something else, something I had not felt in a long time. I felt awake. The next morning, I told my daughter I had a doctor's appointment. She didn't ask which doctor. She had stopped asking those kinds of questions years ago. I drove to the next town over and met with a lawyer named Patricia, who came recommended by my husband's old attorney. She had silver hair cut short, no jewelry except a wedding band, and eyes that did not blink when I told her what was happening. "How long has this been going on?" she asked. 3 years, give or take? And the house is in your name only?" "Yes. My husband transferred it before he died. Smart man, he was." She wrote on a yellow legal pad for a few minutes. Then she set down her pen and looked at me. "I want to make sure I understand. Your daughter and her husband are asking you to sign over a house you have lived in for 41 years. You have been financially supporting their family for 3 years. You are currently raising their children, and they have indicated in your words that you are not going to need the house much longer." "That's correct. Do you have any reason to believe they intend you physical harm?" The question startled me. I thought about it for a moment. "No, I don't think they're capable of that." "Just emotional and financial harm, then?" "Yes." She nodded slowly. "All right, here's what we're going to do." What she laid out over the next 2 hours was simple and devastating. We would establish a trust. The house would go into the trust. The investment accounts would go into the trust. The trust would name a beneficiary, and the beneficiary would not be my daughter. "Who do you want to name?" Patricia asked. I had to think. The grandchildren were too young. My son-in-law would gain access through them. My daughter would contest anything that went directly to the kids if it was structured wrong. Then I thought of someone. A name I had not said out loud in 20 years. "My niece," I said. "Patrice Lemoine. My sister's daughter." Patricia raised one eyebrow. "Are you in contact with her?" "Not for a long time. There was a falling out with my sister, not with the niece. The niece was just a kid." "How old is she now?" "She'd be 36. Last I heard she was a teacher in Maine. Special education." "You'll need to find her, and you'll need to talk to her before we name her. People have a right to know they're being asked to carry something." I left Patricia's office with a folder full of documents and a phone number for a private investigator who could locate my niece within a week. That night I made dinner for my grandchildren. Spaghetti, because it was what they asked for. My granddaughter is 11 and quiet in a way that worries me. My grandson is 8 and asks more questions than anyone I have ever met. Grandma, why don't you ever buy yourself stuff? I looked up from the pot. What do you mean, sweetheart? Mom said you have a lot of money saved up because you never spend any. She told Dad that. I stirred the sauce slowly. When did she say that? In the car. I was in the back seat. She didn't think I was listening. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not surprise, just a confirmation of something I had already known. What else did she say, honey? He shrugged. I don't remember. Just that you'd probably leave it all to her anyway, because who else would you leave it to? I knelt down so I was at his eye level. Listen to me. I love you and your sister very much. That has nothing to do with money. Do you understand? He nodded, the way kids do when they want the conversation to be over. I straightened up and finished making dinner. My granddaughter set the table without being asked. She is the kind of child who tries to make herself small, and it breaks my heart every time. That weekend, my daughter came over to pick up the kids for some birthday party. She lingered in the doorway after they ran out to the car. Have you thought about what we discussed, Mom? I'm still thinking. Don't take too long. The kids need to be enrolled in the new district by January if we're going to do this for the spring semester. What new district? The one we're moving to. After the house is in our names. We've been looking at neighborhoods. I held the door frame to keep my hand from shaking. You've been looking at neighborhoods to move to. After taking my house. She gave me that puff of air through the nose. Mom, please, don't make this dramatic. You can have one of the spare rooms, or we can look into a nice place. There's that one on Route 6, the one with the gardens. You've been touring assisted living facilities. Just looking. Just to know our options. Our options. She didn't catch the way I said it. She had stopped catching things like that a long time ago. After she left, I went into the kitchen and sat down at the table and pressed my palms flat against the wood. I have done that since I was a girl. When my mother used to lose her temper at me, I would sit at our kitchen table and press my hands against the wood and count the rings in the grain. It steadied me. It still does. Patricia called me on Tuesday with 2 pieces of news. Her investigator had located my niece. She lived in a small town outside Portland. She was unmarried, no children, taught at a school for kids with learning disabilities, and had been quietly looking for me for the past 3 years because her mother, my sister, had finally died and she wanted to reconnect with whatever family she had left. I called the number Patricia gave me. My niece answered on the 3rd ring. Her voice was low and warm and so much like my sister's at 22 that I had to sit down in the middle of the call and hold the phone with both hands. "Aunt," she said, "I cannot tell you how long I have wanted to hear from you." We talked for 2 hours. I told her almost everything. Not the money, not yet. But the rest of it. The grandchildren. The breakfast conversation. The notebook in the drawer. The lawyer. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "Nothing. Yet. Maybe nothing ever. But I'm putting some things in order and I needed someone to know they exist. Someone outside that house. I can come down there this weekend." "You don't have to." "Aunt, I want to." She drove down on Friday night. She is tall, like my sister was, with dark curly hair she keeps short. She brought a bottle of wine and a tin of cookies she had baked herself, and she hugged me at the front door for a long time before she said anything. I had not been hugged like that, not really hugged, since my husband died. We sat up until past midnight. I showed her the house, the dogwood tree in the front yard, the chip in the kitchen tile, the little office where my husband used to do the books at night, his desk lamp the only light in the whole back of the house. She looked at everything carefully, the way you look at things when you understand they matter. "Aunt, this place is beautiful." "It's mine," I said. "I want you to know that. It's mine. And whatever happens, it stays mine until I decide otherwise." "I understand." The next morning, I showed her the notebook. She read every page slowly, her finger tracing the columns. When she finished, she closed the notebook and set it down and said only, "Oh, Aunt," that was all. But it was enough. I told her about the accounts, about what my husband had left, about what I planned to do. She did not say anything for a long time. Then she said, "I don't want it. The money. I have a job, and I'm fine. I don't need it." "That's exactly why you're getting it." She started to protest and I held up my hand. "Listen to me. I am not giving this to you because you need it. I am giving it to you because I trust you, and because my husband, who I loved more than I have ever loved anything in this world, told me before he died that I should make sure his money went to someone who would use it well. He didn't say who. He said I would know." She was crying then, quietly, the way I cry. "We are alike in that. Use some of it for your school," I said, "for the kids you teach. Use some of it for yourself. Take a trip. Buy a house. I don't care. The only thing I care about is that it does not go to people who are waiting for me to die." She drove back to Maine on Sunday night. Before she left, she made me promise to call her every week. I promised. The following Monday, I went back to Patricia's office and we finalized everything. The trust, the deed transfer, the will. Patricia had me sign each page in blue ink while a notary watched. It took most of the afternoon. "There's one more thing," I said when we were done. Patricia looked up. "I want to send my daughter a letter. Not now, later, when the time is right. I want her to know exactly what she did and exactly what she lost, not as revenge, as truth. I don't want her telling herself stories about what happened. I want it on paper." "Do you want me to draft it?" "No, I'll write it. But I want you to keep a copy, and I want it to go out automatically if anything happens to me. If she contests, if she tries to claim I was incompetent, anything, the letter goes out and copies go to my grandchildren when they turn 18. Patricia nodded slowly. "That's harsh. My daughter has been telling my 8-year-old grandson that I have money saved up because I never spend any. She has been touring assisted living facilities behind my back. She told her husband, 'I won't need the house much longer. I am not being harsh. I am being clear.' All right." I went home and started writing the letter that night. It took me 11 days. I wrote it longhand in the green leather notebook and then typed it up on the computer my husband had bought me for my 70th birthday. The letter was 16 pages long. It contained every line item from the notebook. It contained the conversation my grandson had overheard. It contained the phrase, "You're not going to need it much longer anyway." It contained the truth about my husband's investments, which I knew she would never have guessed at, and the reason I had chosen not to leave them to her. The reason was simple. I wrote it in one sentence near the end of the letter. "I am not leaving you anything because you stopped seeing me as a person and started seeing me as a resource, and the day you started touring nursing homes for me was the day you forfeited any claim on what I had built." I sealed the letter in an envelope and gave it to Patricia. She put it in her safe. 2 weeks before Christmas, my son-in-law came to the house alone. My daughter had sent him. I knew that the moment I saw him standing on the porch in his coat, holding a manila folder. "We brought the paperwork," he said, "for the house." I let him in. I made him a cup of coffee. I asked him about his work and his mother's headstone and the new tires he had been talking about needing. I was perfectly polite. I have always been perfectly polite. My mother raised me that way, and I have never quite shaken it. He sat at the kitchen table and slid the folder across to me. "It's all very straightforward. Your daughter and I both reviewed it. Just sign at the tabs." I opened the folder. It was a quitclaim deed, transferring ownership of my house to him and my daughter jointly. The lawyer's name on the letterhead was someone I had never heard of. Someone in the city, an hour away. I closed the folder and slid it back to him. "I'm not going to sign that." He blinked. "I'm sorry? I'm not going to sign it. Not today. Not ever. The house is mine, and it's going to stay mine until I die. And after I die, it will go where I have arranged for it to go, which is not to you and not to my daughter." His face went through 3 or 4 expressions before it settled on confusion. "I don't think you understand what we're offering. We're offering to take care of you, to handle everything, so you don't have to worry." "I appreciate the offer. I decline." "Mother, please." He had never called me mother before. He had always called me by my first name. He had decided in this moment that calling me mother would soften me. "You're going to need help. You can't manage this place forever. Be reasonable." "I am being reasonable." "I am declining your offer." He sat back. I could see him recalculating. I could almost watch him doing the math behind his eyes. He had come expecting compliance. He had not come prepared for refusal. "What's gotten into you?" "Nothing has gotten into me. I have simply made a decision. Your daughter is going to be devastated. My daughter has been touring nursing homes for me without my knowledge. My daughter told her 8-year-old son that I have money saved up because I never spend any. My daughter sat at my kitchen table and watched you tell me I wasn't going to need my own house much longer. I do not believe my daughter is going to be devastated. I believe my daughter is going to be inconvenienced. There is a significant difference." He stood up. "This is not the woman I know. No, it isn't. The woman you know was a woman who was very, very tired. That woman is gone." He left without finishing his coffee. He did not say goodbye. My daughter called within the hour. She did not say hello. "Mom, what did you do?" "I told your husband I'm not signing the deed." "Why are you doing this?" "Because the house is mine. After everything we've done for you." I sat down on the edge of my bed and looked at the dogwood tree out the window. The branches were bare now. In April it would bloom, the way it had bloomed for 41 Aprils. "I would like you to make a list," I said quietly. "A list of everything you have done for me in the last 3 years. And I would like you to send it to me in writing, because I have made my own list, and I would like to compare them." She was silent. "I thought so," I said, and I hung up. She came over the next day. She came alone. She did not bring the children, which was, I think, the first respectful thing she had done in a long time. She sat at the kitchen table where she had sat the morning her husband had asked for the house. She did not stir her coffee this time. She did not have any coffee. She sat with her hands folded and her face very still, and I saw something in her that I had not seen in years. A kind of fear. "Mom." "Yes, what's happening?" I sat down across from her. "What's happening is that I am 74 years old, and I have decided to stop pretending I am 94. I am not infirm. I am not confused. I am not standing in the way of your life. I have been holding up your life for 3 years with my hands and my time and my money, and you have not noticed because you have stopped noticing me. That's not fair." "Tell me what's not fair about it. Specifically, tell me one thing I just said that is not true." She opened her mouth and closed it. "I'll wait," I said. She started crying. I have seen my daughter cry many times in her life. I have seen her cry over scraped knees and bad grades and broken hearts and 2 hard pregnancies. I have always crossed the room to her. Always. "I did not cross the room. I didn't mean for it to be like this," she said. "Like what?" "Like you're saying." "I wasn't trying to. I just thought." "What did you think?" "I thought you wanted to help. I thought you were happy to help. I was happy to help. I am still happy to help. What I am not happy to do is be erased while I help." She put her face in her hands. "Mom, I'm sorry. We were going to take care of you. I swear we were. You were going to take care of me by taking my house and putting me in a facility on Route 6. That came out wrong. It came out exactly the way you meant it. You and your husband have been planning my disposal for months. Don't lie to me about it now. The lying is what I cannot stand. The taking I could almost forgive. The lying about the taking is what I cannot." She cried for a long time. I let her. I sat across from her and I did not move. I poured her a glass of water at one point and slid it across the table, and she took a sip without looking at me. When she was finished, she looked up. Her face was a mess. She looked like the little girl I had raised, and for a moment my heart almost broke. But then I thought about the 8-year-old in the back seat of her car, hearing his mother say I had money saved up because I never spent any, and my heart hardened up again. "What happens now?" she asked. "What happens now is that you go home. You and your husband find your own place to live with your own money. You raise your own children, who I love and will continue to love and to see, but who will no longer be raised by me. You stop touring nursing homes. You stop telling people I'm not going to need this house much longer. You stop, in general, treating me like I am already gone. And then what? And then we see. I do not know if I can be your mother again the way I was before. I do not know if I want to. But I know I cannot be your mother while I am also being your bank and your nanny and your eventual obstacle. Those things are no longer on offer." She nodded. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, the way she had when she was small. "What about the money?" I looked at her for a long moment. "What money?" I said. She looked up. I saw her understand. I saw the moment land in her like a stone dropped in water. She stood up slowly. She picked up her purse. She walked to the door. She turned back once. "He's going to be furious." "Yes," I said. "I expect he is." She left. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time after she was gone. The light in the window had gone gold, the way it does in late afternoon in December. I pressed my palms against the wood and counted the rings in the grain. I counted them 3 times. Then I got up and made myself a sandwich. Tomato and mayonnaise on white bread, the way my husband used to make them for me when we were first married and could not afford anything more interesting. I sat in his old chair by the window, and I ate the sandwich slowly, and I watched the dogwood tree, and I thought about my husband, and I thought about my niece, and I thought about my grandchildren, and I thought about all the years I had spent being polite about things I should not have been polite about. The grandchildren still come over on Saturdays. My daughter drops them off at 10 and picks them up at 4. She does not come inside. I have not invited her. We are not estranged exactly. We are something else. Something that does not have a word yet. We are figuring it out. Slowly. Very slowly. The grandchildren do not know about the trust. They do not know about my niece. They do not know about the letter and Patricia's safe. They will know someday. When they are old enough. When they ask the right questions. For now, I make them lunch, and I help them with their homework. And I let my granddaughter braid my hair while we watch old movies, and I tell my grandson the names of the trees in the yard, including the dogwood, and the story of how I planted it the summer his mother turned 6. He asked me last week if I was going to live in this house forever. "Yes," I told him. "I am going to live in this house for as long as I am alive. And then it is going to go to someone who will take good care of it." "Like Mom?" "No, sweetheart. Not like your mom." He thought about that for a minute. He's a thoughtful kid, my grandson. Then he said, "That's okay. Mom doesn't really love this house anyway. She just wanted it because it's expensive." I did not know what to say to that. So I just hugged him, and we kept walking, and the dogwood tree stood there in the yard the way it has stood for 41 years, and I felt, for the first time in a long time, that I was standing too. On my own 2 feet, in my own house, on the land that I had paid for and tended and loved. I am not going to die penniless the way they assumed I would. I am not going to die confused or disposed of or quietly tucked away in a facility on Route 6. I am going to die in this house, in my own bed, when the time comes, which is not for a while yet. And when I do, the dogwood tree will still bloom in the spring, and the kitchen tile will still have its chip. And the woman who inherits this place will be a woman who knows what it costs to keep it. And that, I think, is the only kind of inheritance that is worth anything. I think about that breakfast often now. The light coming through the kitchen window. My son-in-law's hand on the strawberry jam. My daughter stirring her coffee in slow circles, refusing to look up. I have asked myself many times what I would have done if I had not had my husband's accounts waiting for me, quiet and hidden, like a door he had built into the wall before he left. The honest answer is that I do not know. I might have signed the deed. I might have moved into the facility on Route 6. I might have spent my last years being polite while my own life was carried out in boxes around me. That thought scares me more than any of the rest of it. What I have learned, sitting in this house alone in the evenings, is that the people who treat you like a resource will keep treating you that way for exactly as long as you let them, not one day longer. They are not waiting for a sign. They are not waiting for a sign. They are not going to suddenly notice. The day Colette told her own son in the back of the car that I had money saved up because I never spent any, that was not a slip. That was the truth she had been carrying around for years, finally said out loud where a child could hear it. Children hear everything. They remember everything. My grandson handed me back the truth at my own kitchen counter, and I am grateful to him for that, even though I would not wish on any child the job of telling his grandmother what his mother really thinks of her. I do not believe in punishment for its own sake. I have lived too long for that. But I do believe in consequence. Every choice plants a seed. The choices Colette and Jonas made, year after year, planted exactly the harvest they are now standing in. I did not curse them. I did not even raise my voice. I simply stopped being the soil they were drawing from. That is not revenge. That is gravity. If I could leave one thing for any woman my age who is reading her own life right now and recognizing it in mine, it would be this. Your kindness is not a debt you owe. Your savings are not a fund for someone else's mistakes. Your house is not a future inheritance for people who are already spending it in their heads. You are allowed to keep what you have built. You are allowed to keep what you have built. You are allowed to give it where you choose. You are allowed to say no, even to your own daughter, even at 74, even when your hands are shaking under the table. The dogwood tree in my front yard will bloom this April. I will be here to see it. I planted it 41 years ago, and I did not plant it for anyone but myself. I am only just now learning what that means.